You are listening to JoyFX. My name is Ed Kang, your organization development consultant, startup advisor, and executive coach. I hope you're having an amazing day, or maybe it's the end of the week like it is for me, and you had an amazing week wherever, whenever you are. Thanks for joining me. In this episode, I want to talk about something that is near and dear to my heart, something I've been working on for the past few years, and it's really gotten me some results when it comes to my own career, and that is, instead of your career, build your brand. A lot of executives that I coach and startup founders, entrepreneurs, make the mistake of focusing like it was your career. Getting a job is like getting a burden. You have a burden, you have to make money, so go out and get a job. I get that. A career is like a path. Most people think that they are supposed to be going from A, B, C to D. They say, I'm going to finish high school, then I'm going to go to university, and then I'm going to get this entry level job, work my way up, and then eventually I'm going to retire. And that is the pathway, except for the fact that that path never works out the way that we expect it to or want to, especially today with so many choices, with AI and automation. Everything is being upended, everything is changing, and therefore we have to change with the times. Wouldn't it be great to just make money following your calling, that point of success and fulfillment where those two come together? I like to make it different from saying something like, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. Well, there are things that I do during my day that are part of my career, but goes beyond that, and I make it part of my personal brand that I don't love to do. It's a means to an end. Therefore, the more equity I can build up in a professional brand, the easier it will be for me to move along in my career or continue to maintain my momentum. We're going to talk about that more in just a moment. But I'm at the third episode, and it's been fantastic so far. I actually thought that I wouldn't have enough content to fill up all the episodes. What's great about this format is I can talk about a lot of the coaching and the personal development and career development and a lot of the strategy that I can't necessarily talk about on my other social media platforms, such as my YouTube channel, which a lot of my audience, they want a lot of technical guidance, and so I do a lot of how-to videos. But here, I get to just ramble on and talk as if I'm giving an executive coaching session, but on the topics of organization development, being an advisor for startups. I love working with founders. I work with them all day. But if you're an entrepreneur or a business leader, all this is going to apply to you. Beyond that, we have our sponsor. If you stick to the end of this episode, I'm going to share with you how I use a rapid video editor called TimeBolt that has pretty much cut down all my production to 10%. My videos and all my content, this podcast included, will be edited on TimeBolt, and it's made everything zippier, faster, more engaging. I'm getting a lot more subscribers. Therefore, I want to share with you, and you're going to have an opportunity to get a discount on using TimeBolt yourself. Back to our topic here. I heard a long time ago someone tell me, Ed, your social media is your resume. How you build your digital footprint will determine how you're going to move forward in your career. And social media is all about branding. You might know of famous people on Instagram, or you might be on LinkedIn and you notice that there are certain professionals always putting out content and they have a lot of followers and they're supremely networked. I like to say your network is your net worth. In other words, how you build your network will directly determine the value of your net worth, your income opportunities, your earning potential, upward mobility, all that is part of the package. And how do you do that in today's society where we have media all over the place? It's all about building your brand online. You use social media to expand your digital footprint, but all of that social media, all that digital content must be aligned under a personal brand. And it's not just about a brand for your company. It's not just expanding the brand of the organization you work for. And you might be in that situation where you are an employee, you're a manager, and you must reflect upon the brand of the organization and be an ambassador of that brand. And that totally makes sense. What happens when you stop working for that company and you put all this energy into building the organization's brand and you leave without any of that brand equity? Well, there are ways that you can build your professional brand in conjunction with your organizational brand, your corporate brand, if you are in an employment situation. It's the same thing if you're an entrepreneur or a founder. Your venture may not last forever. And I see founders, entrepreneurs going out there and they just represent themselves by their company. It's as if their company is their identity. And that is still a mistake. If you look at Elon Musk right now, I would venture to say that he's got one of the strongest personal brands out there. He's a celebrity CEO, and that's working for him in terms of Tesla, SpaceX, the Boring Company. People want to support him, and whatever he puts his hand to and says, I need some investment, say you want to buy Twitter and turn it into X, which was a crazy maneuver, and I know he's got his own motivations for that, but because he is a brand unto himself, all these CEOs, celebrity CEOs, de-risk the investment, and people say, all right, the company may fail, but this individual has got such a strong brand that they can pivot the company, or they can make the proper maneuvers, attract talent, and really protect our money and generate an ROI. So social media is your resume, and these are things you want to be thinking about. And you might be someone out there right now that says, wow, I just realized I don't post anything on LinkedIn, or I haven't put my profile picture. And I used to be like that as well. I said, I'm okay. I don't need anybody looking at my stuff right now because I'm happy in my job. And then it worked until it didn't. And then I was out of a job and I had to build a brand from scratch. And I said, I'm never going to make that mistake again. When I moved to China, it was the same thing. I was not put in the same billing or at the same level of all my colleagues over there who had PhDs or doctoral degrees, and they were Dr. So-and-so, and there I am, just Ed Kang, and they wouldn't actually advertise me. Even though I was a keynote speaker, they wouldn't put me in the advertising. It was really interesting, and I understood the reason, because they didn't want to put an unknown up there unless there were credentials such as Dr. Ed Kang, something I'm working towards. But since I wasn't Dr. Ed Kang, and they couldn't put that on the promo material, I got knocked down as kind of like a little line afterthought in terms of the design and the communication. Then I began building my brand, and I got on the Chinese version of TikTok over there, and I got hundreds of thousands of followers and millions of views, and I was branding myself, and people began to recognize me. And I started really advancing myself in terms of, okay, I may not have the title, but I'm going to have the brand. And soon enough, when conferences were being promoted and it was going to be an audience of 1,000 people or a couple thousand people, I was listed right along, got my own little card. And I remember looking at it for the first time going, wow, things have completely changed. Even though I'm not recognized as, let's say, an academic expert, I am recognized as an expert in the field over there, and therefore I am being used as a draw and attraction. That translated into more speaking opportunities, because other conferences or event planners would say, if we get Ed speaking at this, then that's going to attract more people. That's good advertising for us. So let's get Ed on board, treat him really good. And I've spoken at some amazing events and been treated very well. It's been a wonderful experience. Moving back over here to North America, now I'm completely online. I'm working remote. So social media, I rely on that to continue to build, and that's the reason I put out a lot of media that I do. One of the ways I like to do this, and I got this tip from Alex Hormozi, if you know him online, really big entrepreneurial YouTuber, and he says, put your free stuff out there and make it better than the stuff that other people pay for. And so I began doing that, and I began putting out my best stuff. Instead of charging for it, I just put it out there and made it a part of my digital footprint, and my brand began to expand. And then more opportunities came to me, because people, even though they might have gotten all your stuff for free, they want help with implementation. They want to be associated with you. They want a business relationship, some type of collaboration. And that's how these opportunities start to bubble up. Let's talk about your brand then. You are sitting there going, okay, this is a really great idea. Maybe I haven't done it, or I've been doing it, and it really hasn't yielded the fruit, the ROI that I'm expecting, that it's all been promised to me by, let's say, LinkedIn. Start using LinkedIn Sales Navigator or LinkedIn Premium, and you can get all these opportunities online. Your professional brand gets out there. It doesn't happen like that, because the problem is when you can do social media for free, anybody can get a LinkedIn account or a Facebook, Instagram, and start putting things out there. You want your signal to get out there and cut through the noise. But if you just put out noise like everybody else, well, guess what? Your market has learned to drown out the noise. Think about it for a second. When you're flipping through a magazine or you're scrolling through the internet and you see a banner ad, I don't even pay attention to those things anymore. I just skip. And that's what happens at the same time on YouTube. I'm watching a YouTube video and that ad comes out. I don't even pay attention. I just look directly for the skip ad button right away and get through it. There's only one reason that I actually watch ads, and this will be a little interesting. Just being transparent with you. I will watch an ad on YouTube because I know the length of time that I watch the ad, after a certain amount of time, that creator gets credit and makes some money. And so if I like the creator, I find their content valuable, and I support their personal brand as a creator, I will actually watch their advertising. Think about it. It's just the craziest thing in the world. And then eventually that advertising gets to me. There's been times I've stopped and I've said, hey, wait a second. I've seen this ad like 4 times in the past week. I'm going to go check this out because it's been piquing my interest every single time. So it's not the ad that actually got me to watch it and get interested in the product. It's the creator and their personal brand, or their creator brand, their professional brand on YouTube, that has gotten me to watch the advertising and participate in the whole economic incentive system of social media. Just a confession. Getting back to putting out signal versus noise, there are 3 ways that I want you to think about your brand. Your brand is made up of positioning, how you're positioned in the marketplace, especially next to your competitors. Next is promise. When someone engages and interacts with you, what do you promise that you're going to do for them? What do you promise in terms of benefits? What do you promise as far as how their life is going to improve when they do business with you? And then third is personality. That is being consistent with how you deliver your promise. Some people have agreeable personalities, disagreeable personalities. Some people are humorous. Some people are straight to the point. They use dry humor. Doesn't matter. You have a character or a persona that you project, and it must be consistent. Think about those commercials back in the day between Microsoft and Apple. It was, hi, I'm a Mac and I'm a PC, and those personalities came out representing the brand of the company, but the individuals as well. Apple was represented by this cool college hipster dude, and Bill Gatesian type of character was representing Microsoft. Now imagine if Microsoft started putting out advertising with hip, cool, like teenagers and what have you. People would be alienated from the brand. That's not the personality that I expect from Microsoft. I expect Bill Gates' company to be very nerdy and straightforward, all about business productivity, just clean and professional. And I expect Apple to be completely fun and exciting and do some cutesy stuff and really get out there and make their brand sort of so intuitive. Like the other day, I was watching these Apple commercials for the Apple Watch, and they had this motion, tapping your fingers, squeezing your fingers together twice, turn the Apple Watch on and off, and it was just a gesture, and it had all these different ways that they were doing it. None of that was at the office. You didn't have anybody sitting at the office and sitting in front of a computer or sitting in a presentation, they were tapping their fingers together. It was all going camping or snoozing, sleeping in on a lazy Sunday morning. Those are the examples that represents the personality of the Apple brand. That's how they deliver their promise, and it must be consistent, and therefore you are the same way. You have a personality, and you want to keep that personality the same way every single time, so you don't alienate the people that you're trying to do business with, or that you're working with, or your next employer, referrals, all that good stuff. Let's move a little further in on how you build positioning, promise, and personality. The best way to position yourself is to embrace thought leadership. And that is important today because more and more, all the technical stuff is being outsourced to AI, robots, automation. They're going to be doing all that technical stuff so much faster, so much better. The robots are coming to eat our lunch. Eventually, we're going to have corporate robot overlords. I'm jesting. Kind of. A lot of things are going to be run by AI. And I'm not saying that people are going to be replaced by robots, but people will be replaced by other people who use robots. And therefore, all the technical stuff is taken care of. What do you have? It's all about what happens up here. Can you think differently? Can you lead with your thoughts in relation to an AI, in relation to a robot? Can you complement what robots can do, what that AI can do? That's where your thought leadership comes in. As well as, while everything's cookie cutter and being taken care of, if you can go out and lead with your thoughts, sometimes put out some contrarian thoughts or challenge the status quo, people gravitate towards that. Therefore, you might be disagreeable, you might be fighting against a certain trend, but you're going to stand out. You're going to say, hey, I know everybody's zigging. How about we zag? Because if everybody zigs, then we're not going to be different. We're going to miss out on opportunities. And I think that is something that's going to build your brand if you start putting out content. It's all about content, content, content. Here's my advice to you. They say content is king. And that is true. You must be putting out content on a regular basis. But context is queen. And we know behind every great king, there's a queen rolling her eyes, right? Or when I look back to the times that I saw My Big Fat Greek Wedding, you remember that movie? The mother was giving advice and say, yeah, the man may be the head of the family, but the woman is the neck and can make the head move around all that she wants. Well, it's the same thing. Content is the king, but the context in which you put things out is going to determine how effective it is, whether it is signal or noise. Contextual content is what I'm getting at, especially on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, don't upload your cat videos or don't upload your kitschy memes and all that stuff. Reserve that for Facebook or Instagram or different places. On LinkedIn, you put out thought leadership articles. Nobody wants to know what you ate for breakfast on LinkedIn. At least that doesn't move the needle. It just contributes to the noise. But thought leadership articles, because LinkedIn is a place where it's pretty professional. You don't have a lot of the same clout chasing is what the young people call it. The individuals who are trying to do things just to get attention. It's the same attention economy that drives social media platforms like TikTok and Facebook and Instagram. It's not the same on LinkedIn. You're getting attention through thought leadership, and that's going to position you different. Make sure you study your competition, what other people in your professional class or your industry are saying, and put something out there that might be different. Position yourself differently from where all the other noise is going and put out your signal properly. I know a founder, and he currently runs a social media management platform. So social media companies go and use his software, and his company, I believe, is doing north of $20 million a year. He's got a really great lifestyle. He's been offered so many different buyouts, and he just says, no, I like my lifestyle. He goes kite surfing all over the place. Totally great guy. And I sat and I interviewed him, and I asked him, since you have all this data on social media, what's the secret to going out there and cutting through all the noise and putting out the signal? And he said, Ed, you actually have to go out there and say something kind of controversial. You have to say something opposite to what everybody else is saying. And the more you can push it into the controversial sphere or that end of the spectrum, the more that you'll stand out. And he said, dare I say, really push that controversial stuff out there. Therefore, I like to try and put out content. And if I see all these articles trending in one direction, I'll do research and say, how can I put out a contrarian opinion and make it seem a little controversial, put a little edge on it? So you want to use thought leadership for position. The next is you want to make a promise. And by promise, you must promise results versus intentions. Here's the mistake that's part of human nature that so many people use. We want to be judged by our intentions, but we judge other people by results. And that leads to some serious mistakes when delivering or conducting your professional self out in the market. We think, wow, I intended to get those results. I intended to make sure that we're at 20% profitability, or that I close 50% of my leads, or I give the greatest customer service and fight churn and get customer testimonials. I intended to do that. Shouldn't that be enough? But it doesn't work that way, because we judge everybody else by the results. If someone comes along and lets me down and has made a promise, overpromised and underdelivered, I don't care what their intentions are. In the professional world, I'm looking at the results and I'm just going to move on, not going to work with that individual. And therefore, you must work on your competency and stand behind your competency and shoot for that excellence, that operational excellence, put in your 10,000 hours. I don't care what you have to do, but learn the difference between results and intentions. Intentions are great when you're working with relationships and you want to give someone the benefit of the doubt, but to propel your brand forward, you must make the promise that I will get you results where everybody else is going to share their intentions. That's what it comes down to. Focus on results and don't make any excuse using your intentions. Take responsibility, accountability, and your brand, your personal brand, will be known for the promise of delivering based on competence. The other way that you go about doing this is something that I learned listening to Jack Ma in China. He said, after a certain period of time, once you've tried everything and made all the mistakes and learned the skills, only do what you're good at. Stop saying yes to everybody else. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, I'm saying yes to everything right now because I'm either insecure or desperate, and I want to get the deals, but I'm saying yes to things that I can't necessarily say I promise that I'm going to get you results. But if I say yes only to the things I'm good at, I have a better chance of managing those results. What do you need to do to achieve this? Take an inventory of what you're really good at. Go ask other people, what is something that I do that consistently delivers results? What do you know you can trust me with and that you come to me with every single time in terms of a problem that you're trying to fix? I'm known as someone who gets people results when it comes to being accountable to certain metrics, and that's how I start. I say, what is success and how are we going to measure it? Well, that's part of my promise, and I focus only on what I'm good at, and I don't get into those situations where I've overpromised and I'm under-delivering. In fact, I'm going to underpromise and over-deliver. That's where you want to be. Finally, when it comes to your personality, it's all about authenticity. I remember listening to a survey. They asked a whole bunch of young people, I think they were millennials, and they asked them, what is the quality that you see that you want to trust the most and makes you want to follow a certain leader or listen to a manager, get engaged in the workplace? And the answer was authenticity. That makes sense to me. But how authenticity is expressed, that was really interesting. And what it came down to was the fact that these millennials saw the leaders they admire share their emotions appropriately, not go off and say, I'm so freaking mad at everybody and etc. And oh no, the sky's falling, I'm scared. That's not the emotional conduct that's appropriate. They shared their emotions in a very, very healthy way. They made sure that not only would they give a compliment, but they would share how they're feeling about their coworkers or their direct reports or the rest of the management team. And that made young people go, this individual's authentic. They're not playing a game. And therefore, I trust them more. And that is the quality that we need to present in our personality. You want to be authentic, but your emotional intelligence skills are going to help you get the social awareness, starting with the personal awareness, and then you've got the emotional regulation, self-regulation. So you don't let your emotions work against you. You get your emotions working for you. In other words, you're using your emotions so that you can express authenticity and send out that signal amidst all the noise that young people or other people go, wow, this individual is so authentic. I know who I'm working with. I can build trust with them. Doing business at the speed of trust, that is the important part of how you get the personality working for you in alignment with your emotions. Because if your emotions are all out of whack and you're emotionally leaking all over the place, well, nobody's going to even want to come close to you and participate in anything authentic that you're going to put out there. And therefore, your brand is just going to put out more noise in the marketplace. There you have the three things: positioning, promise, and personality. And you do this through thought leadership, focusing on results versus intentions, and authenticity using your emotional intelligence skills. But I want to make one more argument and share how joy can help you with your personal brand. If you've been listening to this podcast, defining JoyFX is when a group of individuals or a network are intrinsically motivated to create value with each other in strength, but especially weakness. I express joy, or I create joy effects in my organizations when I can share my strengths and celebrate with my employees, my people who are the tribe inside the organization, and I'm willing to be vulnerable, open, transparent, and share the authenticity in my weakness. Everybody else doesn't jump down my throat to fix, heal, convert, teach, or direct me. I don't jump down their throats as well. If I have an employee and they come to me and they say, Ed, I'm really struggling and I just want to come clean with you. I really screwed this up. I'm feeling very embarrassed. I go, great. Thank you. I'm so glad that you told me. Now what can we do? Or I'll say, is there anything else that you want to share? Because I can imagine this is really tough. What conversation should we have so that you're emotionally clear? You've resolved those emotions so we can move forward. And I'm going to acknowledge and validate that you're feeling the way that you're feeling. That's joy. Nothing kills joy faster than when you're sharing and someone runs up and says, I'm going to fix, heal, convert, teach, or direct you, especially when it's unsolicited. I remember sharing just this past week how I was feeling overwhelmed and I was going through this emotional roller coaster because I was taking on some heavy executive coaching, and that takes an emotional toll. You have to be intentional, grounded, present, mindful. And if you have a lot of distractions, well, guess what? You're not going to show up for your client the way that you need to. And many times I've actually backed out when I know I can't show up the way that I have promised them. as far as results, even though I may intend to show up. If I know I can't do that, I will actually withdraw and I'll say, hey, can we reschedule this? But it was a tough day and I was dealing with one conversation after the other, and they were emotionally charged conversations. And when I began sharing that with someone that I worked with, guess what happened? This colleague then decides to randomly send me a message and say, hey, do you know what? You should do this and you should do that, and start prescribing all these things completely unsolicited. Truth be told, I'm just going to be very direct and transparent with my reaction to it. I was like, who are you to give me advice? I got my defenses up right away because it was almost like I'm being judged, and therefore someone's telling me what to do. It's unsolicited advice. I took offense to that because I was thinking to myself, I just laid it all out there and I was emotionally vulnerable. I was transparent with what I'm dealing with, and I'm total pro about it, and I'm going to get through it. And I just wanted to put it out there just so that we could have a connection moment. And here you are now trying to fix me or correct me. That didn't go over really well. Thankfully, I'm self-regulated and I can say, all right, I'm sure the intention was really great, but I actually responded and it started turning into a little bit of an awkward conversation as well. Now, let me give you another example of where it worked out. I was really irritated by some people that I had to work with. Very irritated. They got under my skin. I was worn down. And I put out a message to my group and I said, I'm going to be transparent. I just need to get this off my chest because I don't want it to affect, emotionally leak into my customer service. I need to be a pro. But these individuals irritate the ish out of me. I put it out there and I said, I don't need advice. I know what I need to do, but I'm just coming clean with you all just in case you see something or you hear something, and I need the support. Well, guess what happened? All three of my colleagues chimed in and said, yeah, we can relate. We empathize. We experienced that as well. And they acknowledged my emotions and they were okay with me putting that out there. And guess what? I have joy with them. That's JoyFX in action. Now, I'm sure they were listening and making sure that I wasn't going to continue to spiral downward or get into some type of moment of despair and lose all hope and just not be professional or show up the way that I need to. But I joked right back and we had all moved on. It wasn't an issue. Nobody tried to fix, heal, convert, teach, or direct. How does this apply to your personal brand? Well, if you can position yourself for joy, you can promise joy, and you can express your promise using joy. What does that look like? Well, I'm going to say to you that I use joy to make everything better. Joy is going to create better results. I'm positioning myself separately where other people will come in and give you all the expert advice and they'll say, I'm going to fix, heal, convert, teach, and direct you. I'm going to say, you know what? I like to use this thing called JoyFX. And this is the type of person that I want to work with. This is the type of person I want to be. This is who I am, who I want to be, and with whom I want to be me with. That's how I'm positioned. And you don't have to necessarily say joy because some people might not interpret it the right way. You just happen to be on a podcast called JoyFX, so you're expecting me to talk about it. You don't have to say joy necessarily, but you want to put yourself separate from everybody else and say, I want to operate in a certain way. And here's my promise to you. I'm going to be glad to be with you in your strength and your weakness. I got your back when you're strong. I want to celebrate. I got your back when you're weak. You don't have to hide it. In fact, if you're feeling weakness, I want to hear about it because I feel weak as well. And I want to be equally transparent with you. I want to work with you. We want to be our authentic selves, our best selves, but be authentic about it when we collaborate together. And I'm never going to ramrod how to fix, heal, convert, teach, or direct a situation. Never going to ramrod that down your throat in an unsolicited fashion because I don't want to rob the joy in our relationship. In fact, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about it and we'll mutually agree to collaborate, which also involves co-creation, which addresses the power dynamics. If you just say, let's co-create together, then it doesn't matter if you're their boss or you're their manager or their leader. Power dynamics start to change. And finally, if you conduct yourself with a joyful personality, every time you hear somebody, you don't fix, heal, convert, teach, and direct them. Every time you hear someone, you use that emotional intelligence and you begin to bond with them and you ask them questions and you're consistent with that every single time, then you will win. Your professional brand will start to ripple outwards and begin affecting people, and you'll get what I call referential power. In other words, people are going to refer to you or refer others to you, and that's what you want. It's going to emanate from you. That means, however, you got to work on your stuff. If you're dealing with emotional issues, if you know you fly off the handle, or you know you're dealing with certain insecurities, Go get that stuff figured out, because that's going to come out and affect your capacity to bring joy effects into every relationship that you have. And through the rest of these podcast episodes, you're going to continue to hear advice from me on how to continually build your joy capacity so you can experience joy effects in your career, in your workplace, culture, teams, whatever social circle, especially your family. That would be so gratifying for me to hear that you learn how to have joy effects at work, but it's spilled over into your family, or vice versa. There you have it. That's my whole talk. Build your brand, not your career. Focus on positioning, promise, personality, which is thought leadership, results versus intentions, and authenticity using those EQ skills, and consider making it all about joy effects with everything that you're learning here. I appreciate you joining me, because so many of you have given me the joy and allowed me to practice joy effects with you. It's been a wonderfully challenging but rewarding journey that I'm on so far. Thanks again. As promised, let's talk about our sponsor. TimeBolt is a rapid editing program that allows me to automatically remove silence, speed up scenes, and rapidly cut commentary in video and podcast. I'm using TimeBolt right now to actually record this content, and then TimeBolt automatically puts it in software and cuts out all the dead space and begins chunking things together to allow me to rapidly edit and get things out there. Like I said, TimeBolt auto detects all the silences in a matter of seconds versus me scrubbing through all the video and cutting it into little pieces and deleting those silent parts. It allows me to sculpt based upon how I want everything to flow. Quick edits, quick cuts, allows me to pan in, pan out, and do some really cool things. And also, I get to preview everything up to 4x speed. So I review everything at 1.5 speed, and I get through it so much quicker. And then finally, I can export it into other editing programs. Sometimes I have to do some touch up or do some special effects, but I can just spit it out and throw that in an editing program like I use Premiere, and it works so quickly. TimeBolt has been a game changer. It's a 10xer for me. Like I said, I spend 10% of my time putting out content, which allows me not to get bogged down and stay consistent to build my personal brand, especially with digital media out there. If you visit timebolt.com, that is TIMEBOLT.com, you can use my code EDKANG99 for 20% off. Just sign up, use the code, and you'll get 20% off, and you're going to enjoy TimeBolt just as much as I do. I promise you.